I said earlier that the buzz might be about back to school time. I think probably it is the case that the only people excited about it are the parents who've been home all summer with the kids. That's probably. I don't think the kids are jumping to go to school necessarily. Teachers are not jumping to go to school necessarily, but it's time. Now, getting back to school doesn't just happen. You don't just wake up one day and say, oh, time to go to school, here we go. Now, it probably could be done, but I don't know a single mother who would allow that to happen. Got to have the right clothes. You got to go get a backpack. You got to have a lunchbox or something. Supplies. How many of you have been either forcers or enforcing first day picture? Raise your hand. So you're embarrassed to do it. I know, yeah. I don't know of a single parent that didn't say, all right, first day of school, get up there. And how many have 12 first day of school pictures? I can just see the senior going, I'm not doing this again. But I'm not sure that it won't happen because, you know, that's an important thing. So back to school. There's a lot that happens getting ready for that. I want to use that theme as we get back to school this month. And we're going to talk the next 3 weeks about back to school. We're going to use this not only because we're going through that time, but it is also a good time to remind ourselves of the value for all of us being in school, spiritually speaking, back to school. The reference will be, as we talk, heading in this direction, the reference is that as school begins, let's have the mindset that all of us spiritually should be in school. Constantly, we should be in school. You might graduate from public school or from home school. You might graduate from college. You might get one of those terminus degrees. I love it when they say the terminal degree. It killed me. Terminus. But guess what? You never graduate from school with the Lord. What I want us to think about is not only reminding ourselves to be in school, but maybe also, and not maybe, absolutely, to reach out to others who need to be in school better. I want to think about that concept. To do that, I want us to think about the parable that Jesus told here in Mark chapter 4. He records it also in Matthew and in Luke, and he deals with the parable of the seed in the soil. This idea of going back to school fits, I think, possibly the soil that the farmer was sowing into. Jesus will say at the end, or in explaining this parable later, he would say that his point is that the soils represent the heart. Going back to school is about who I am. It's not about going to that building because some people are homeschooled and they're at home. Going to a building, being at home. It's not about the place, it's about the person. That's what going back to school is about. And so I want us to think about these soils as they relate to the concept of back to school. There are, as Jesus tells the story, there are 4 soils. For our purposes, we're only going to consider the final 3, but notice all 4 of them. Jesus begins by saying that the sower went out and he was throwing seed, and some of it went over there and landed on the wayside. Now, the wayside is the hard-packed ground that does not receive the seed at all, and the birds came and stole it away. Those are people that are in denial that they even need school at all. Well, I'm not talking about them in this series. This is more about us. And we are representative, or the soils, the final three, are representative of all of us. As the wayside is in denial, we're going to see that the stony ground is in delay. We're going to see that the thorns have distractions. And we're going to notice that the good soil shows dedication. Think with me, if you will, about this soil, the stony ground. Notice how Jesus worded the parable. The parable, he says, explains that on the stony ground, this is a place where he sowed the seed. And in my mind, I was thinking about it, and all these years preaching and teaching about it. And basically what I thought was, you have soil sort of like Madison County. No matter where you dig, you're going to hit a rock somewhere, right? Just go out here and try to till up something on this property. We're sitting on one big old piece of rock. Hard to dig into some of it. And so my mind was, this was land that had rocks and soil. For the first time, I did some research on this. And here's what I found. The research that I found said, if it had been the soil that simply has rocks in it, then the roots eventually would have found a way to grow. You ever seen a piece of grass poking up through the asphalt? You know why? Because even though it's asphalt, there's ground underneath and it can find a way. What apparently this is about is that some of the seed fell on top of rocks that had a layer of soil on them. One of them even called it like a mold on the rocks. Just enough to allow the seed to stick and to allow the process of breaking down the seed to open up the life to happen on top of a rock. And it was able to work. It seems to say in the text, immediately it sprung up. I was thinking about that and trying to figure out. In fact, I tried to find out, is there something about thin soil that causes the seed to germinate more quickly than deep soil? Seems like not. What it seemed to say was this: it sprang up immediately. Why? Because the soil was so shallow that you could see the seed beginning to germinate so quickly. If you bury it down deep, it takes a while for the evidence to come to the top. But this seed was on ground that was so thin that it happened so quickly. Apparently, it looked like so quickly, when in fact, it just was closer to the evidence than his seed buried deeply. And so it sprang up. But here's the problem. There was no depth there. That's how Jesus describes it. He said, but because there was no depth of earth, there was nothing there to support it. And when the seed germinated, and it did, began to grow, and it did, when the sun came up, it scorched the plant because there was no support system. I think it is obvious to all of us that his point is that with no depth of ground, trouble killed the seed. Even though there was some apparent success, there was some visible action, there was a sprout of some sort. But the trouble, the sun scorched it, and without depth, it died. Here's what I think I want us to notice about the stony ground. The stony ground is the unprepared ground. It is the ground that is not ready. It is the ground that has not been worked. It is the ground that has not been given the sufficient effort and work. It just has a little bit of dirt for our purposes. This ground has delayed preparing itself for the trouble that is ahead. I think everyone in here, everyone in this room intends to be with the Lord. I don't have any doubt about that. There's no doubt that every one of us who are here today is here because I want to be with the Lord. I believe that there is life after this life. I believe that God is real, and I want to be in heaven with God someday. I don't doubt that anybody in this room has any other thought. There is nobody who would come here on somewhat of a regular basis who says, no, I choose to miss heaven. I'm just here because it's the in thing to do. Doesn't make any sense. We all want to be here. The problem is that some of us who want to be here are in delay mode, getting ready to be there. What's going to happen someday? Right now, no, but one day, I'm just going to stay here because you know what? Hanging around these people is a good thing, but one day I will. Or maybe the thought process is, I know that I need to, it's just not my time. It's just not working out for me. Let me be blunt. I'm going to be blunt. If we intend to be with the Lord, if we intend to be in school, spiritual school of development, I think that one of the ways that every one of us can have that school mentality is to make Bible class and our time of assembly a priority in our lives. You see, choosing not to be involved in Bible class is choosing not to be in school in that event and in that moment and in that opportunity. Choosing not to participate with the church in times of assembly and worship is a choice. It says, I have other things I would rather do. And therefore, the depth is not there. Think with me for just a minute about how to develop and prepare the soil to go back to school. How do you deal with the stony ground? How do you deal with that unprepared ground who's ready to receive the seed? How do you deal with it when it's not there? Number one, desire empowers the preparation. You have to desire it. We have to desire to be in school with the Lord. Let me give you two concepts. Number one, start early. Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 9, Isaiah said, with my soul I desire you in the night, and with the soul that is within me I will seek you early. Here's what Isaiah is saying. Lord, I desire you so much. It is as though I cannot wait until the sun comes up. I so desperately want you. I so want you. I'm ready right now. And when the sun comes up, boom, I'm ready. I'm ready to go at it. I think the analogy is maybe like this. I can't read at night. Well, any lights. But the minute the sun comes up, I'm going to begin my day with you. Start early. Not just early in the day, that's good, but start early. Parents, why would you bring a child into this world and purposefully avoid one of the greatest depth-producing things, which is Bible class for those children? I don't understand it. What a powerful thing to have those children there learning and seeing. Didn't Peter say in 1 Peter 2 and verse 2, as newborn babes desire the milk of the word. We need to be people who desire to be in school with the Lord. And Bible class and times of worship, those are times in which we are in school with the Lord. And we have to desire it. Start early and be desperate. Be desperate. One of the things I've heard from college students through the years here is that the mentality, maybe not just here but everywhere, is professors, they're going to do their job whether you want it or not. They don't care. They're just going to do their job. And if you don't get it, that's your business. I'm doing my job. The mentality of a student in school should be this: I deserve to learn. I deserve to be taught. I expect you to teach me. I expect you to challenge me. Now, buddy, that's a student that a teacher would take great joy and pride in, right? What about us as people of God? I'm desperate to learn about God. Jesus put it this way: blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, they shall be filled. To fix stony ground, first of all, the desire to be in school with the Lord must be there. But number two, there has to be an effort that meets the desire. There has to be an effort that goes with the desire. Like I said, everybody here wants to be with the Lord. Everybody. But what effort are we all putting in to match the desire? If the desire is small, the effort is small. But if the desire is large, shouldn't the effort be large? Effort is important. Effort says, I will do my part. Because effort means I do my own work. Philippians 2 verse 12, Paul said about those brethren, as you have been in my presence, even more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. If I want to be in heaven with the Lord, if I desire that, then I have to work out myself. I have to make it real in my life. I can't ride in on the coattails of somebody else. But I also have to make it my work with others who are also trying to get there. 2 Corinthians 6 and verse 1, Paul began in that verse by saying, we together as workers with him. being a part of this family, connecting to this church, says that I am not only doing what I need to do, but I am helping others and I am learning from them. There's a connectedness to my effort. I have an effort for myself. I have an effort with you and you with me when we are trying to make Stony ground receptive to go to school. We have to have the effort that meets the desire. And finally, third, we have to have a maintenance program. Maintain. Paul wrote to Titus in chapter 3 and in verse 8, be careful, every one of us, to maintain good works. The word maintenance is built on a word that means, as one scholar wrote, the diaphragm and the organs surrounding the heart. Here's what he said. It is a visceral opinion. It is an inside yearning. It is from the inside out, something that drives me. I want to maintain. I'm one of those who said, I really want to have a garden. And I tilled it. And I got it all set and I planted it. And I put in the effort, man. I grew some plants and I sprayed some stuff on it. And I go out and cut the fruit. And then I turned yesterday and looked at it, and you know what? I got some grass that's taller than my squash. I didn't care because, all you got to do is move the grass and find the squash. You're good. Maintenance. Maintenance says it's a process. It's a lifestyle. That word means it is a connection. Maintenance is the connection between my inside visceral opinion with the necessary outward behavior. Do I want to be spiritually minded? Do I want to be in school with the Lord? I want us to talk about it for the next 3 weeks. And by the time that our new class quarter starts in September, I really want us to encourage people to be involved. There are some who intend to be in Bible class. Make this the time you say it's going to happen. Maintain it for the whole time. Get in there and dig, because it is in those times and others like them that we add depth to our spiritual lives, so that when the difficulties come, when the sun's shining at its hottest, we don't wilt and die. Back to school. That same word, maintenance, is the same word used in 1 Corinthians 10, verse 15, where Paul called those people wise. It is wise to desire the Lord, put in the effort that matches the desire, and then maintain what is on the inside. That's what makes you wise. And that's what school is all about, to learn to be wise. Paul praised Timothy in 2 Timothy 3 when he said, from a child, you have known the scriptures that are able to make you wise to salvation. He was taught from a little child by his mother and his grandmother. What was he taught? The scriptures that'll make you wise for salvation. Today, if you're not a child of God, you're like the wayside. The wayside that can't and does not receive the seed, and it's gone until you really want it, until you decide to get into it. It's not going to make a difference in your life. You're certainly not wise to avoid the Lord. Today, if you're a child of God, but the desire has not really led to the effort and the maintenance, and you're ready to get on board consistently, can we help you? If we can help today to add you to God's family, or to bring you back and help you with some problem in life, we're here for you. As our shepherds join us at the front, will you come? Let's stand and sing.